Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Shaitan ar-Rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and unnecessary ignorance. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Rabbi Ighfirli, my Lord, forgive me for all the sins that I am conscious and unconscious of. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. May God guide us to the direct path. All right, so it begins. What can be said about the might of madness and the futurist's roar? Guys, the might of madness is an expression that I don't know. I don't think I've heard it from anywhere, but it just at some point it began to some degree being taking a poetic form for me. And so I guess this lecture has two components. One, I need to explain to you what does it mean that there is might in madness, and what does madness mean? What does might mean? What does their intersection mean? And then, why would the futurists be roaring, or should be roaring? Guys, this is a laid back episode for me. All I can say is enjoy this evening. Okay, so I'm gonna open the notepad here. Feels like a notepad episode. The might of madness. For example, the first view I have on this, it's like yeah. So I guess All right, folks. I need some inspiration here. All right, let me see. Think about the idea of might. To me, there comes the great presence of force. We human beings, our minds are a life force, our bodies are a life form, and our soul is the essence of life, marching through conditions known and unknown. And so, as a human being, we look at our life and we realize it is divided in perception. And because the world is contexted dualistically, and we're acting as an individual in the realm, we are in some sense ignoring the duality of it all. In every moment of your life, there has been a chaotic self and there has been an ordered self as probabilities existing and your decisions animated. But beyond duality, the human project has gone further. There's times in life where your mind lives ahead of your body. Your mind accesses a reality that is more advanced than your body, but on some level, you're still left in where the body is. And so our minds give us access to the future. The might of madness is when the future is being valued. There has been times in my life, and I do perceive everything. I am a Muslim futurist. In the sense that I feel the simulation in the future is returning to the original, to the system admin. I do believe this world has a system admin. That's really what it means to be a Muslim. And I believe only the system admin that is beyond anything, that has no partner or equivalent in the world, is worthy of worship. This is my approach. And so while I'm here as a futurist, I wonder about pretty much what variables are accessible now. What does humanity know? What does humanity not know? And how can he use his findings and mysteries to, in some sense, advance itself? The might of madness is that it's all based on a certain way. I would use the terminology that the soul is valuing itself. So you see, there's like limits for the body, there's limits, let's say, for the mind, and there's limits for the soul. Also, not ignoring the fact that the soul is a mystery. It's a secret of God, and it's also the command of the system admin. You know, madness can be seen that there's two types, okay? Just like there's two types of loneliness, the differences being solitude being a conscious choice, loneliness being you don't have a choice. Similarly, I think with madness, there's a conscious madness and there's an unconscious madness. The madness that is unconscious is actually something to worry about because it doesn't understand, because it's not aware of what it's destroying. Sometimes evil can be ignorance in disguise, in the sense that ignoring something that you know the better way of is kind of like technically it can't be evil. Okay. For me, I found a sort of might in my madness, but the madness was not how do I explain it to you? The madness is not a madness of uh and it's not a madness of chaos. It's a madness that is a conscious reaction to chaos. So I'm pretty much telling you, you corner and psychologically it will go ape, it will become wild and attack out of fear, either fight or flight. Height of madness is that in some sense, even though a part of you has in some sense gone for flight, a part of you cannot be longer. It's as if like when you're pushed to the edge of the world, then you have to in some sense fight. And when I say the might of madness, it's not a madness that the person has, it's the might that responds to the madness of a situation. It's in some sense the might of madness is like a hidden justice. The might of madness is in some sense like a hidden justice that the individual applies. I'll give you an example. The might of madness is that somebody hasn't understood how to be themselves because, let's say, of some self worth issue in regards to disliking themselves or something. You're listening to someone who, in their youth, hated themselves, but not to the degree that I hated the future because I didn't know the future. The might of madness is kind of like a personal space is invaded, and then the attention responds. Or in some sense, I would say differently. Actually, I can see another angle to it where the might of madness. Here, I'll write it. For example, a human among humanity notices extra terrest- extraterrestrial invasion of the human species is taking place, and they cannot let their species be defeated. It's like the might, for example, you have been pushed to the brink of chaos, and the last chaotic action is to accept the chaos, or I should say, the last chaotic action is to. So you have been pushed to the brink of chaos, and the last chaotic action is self chaos, and suddenly your future self reminds you of who you can be. The might of madness is when something bothers you to the degree that you have to respond to it, guys. For me, I sometimes listen to my own lectures and I wonder where is the force coming. And I've come to understand it very consciously now that a part of me is angry for what the past did, but I've accepted that they didn't know better. A part of me is angry at the conditions of our current present, but a part of me has also accepted that people don't know better. But when it comes to the future, you see, it's like somebody being rude to the past, and you can let it slide. Somebody being rude to the present, you're like, okay, the person's a fool, you can let it slide. But someone being rude to the future, What it means to be a futurist means you're identifying with the future of reality, and you're extracting your values from the potential of humanity rather than just humanity now or in the past. And even we can look at it like this, that I'll write it: there is might in madness. So guys, I'm going to acknowledge all angles of it. One angle: a mad person out of his oblivious intense response demonstrate might. That's an example. For example, so madness can mean like mentally ill, but it could also mean like anger and being frustrated and being pushed to a point where you can't tolerate anymore. And then your response is that it's like if people are walking all over you, this might finds you in the madness of understood that you are an equivalent value living for the first time. Everybody's experiencing themselves in the world for the first time in some sense. Anyways, for example, people don't care for the future. It makes you angry, and you find the might to, in some sense, roar that the future matters. The futurist roar, or the roar of the futurist, simply that aspect of human civilization who understands that everything has been sculpted, and that even in evolutionary perspective, the ability of the creature to envision its future, which then led to adaptation, was its basis of survival. So the ability to notice the future and to be able to plan for the future is what got us through secular from that perspective. But from a religious perspective, there's we're not in just some random place. We're inside an administered system. You're inside a simulated testing zone within a divine surveillance state. And if you truly wonder what is looking through your eyes of every creature, conscious creature in this realm, you're going to the mystery of the system. It's in some sense um, code from the main operating system that the ego code, the simulated self, can't access. So, in other words, it's like thing is when something can be possible, something better can be possible, and when people don't care for that, it just makes you angry. That why is the species basing its identity on what it has done in the past, rather than understand that the future is waiting for all of us. The future is where we're walking to, and the future of the human species is the game. And all this nationalism, every person is storifying their reality. This massive storytelling going on out of the chaos. Earliest human beings not being too overwhelmed by reality and having to shrink it down to only what they could know and control. Everybody has a hidden inner life, a private inner life, and they have a public outer life. And in the presence of their public outer life, their true self is who their inner life, and who a person is, or what a person is in their inner life, is that they are an awareness to how objects and subjects have been changing. So technically, behind your and you find your body within this awareness. Notice your imagination within this awareness. Whether you remember something, visualize something, it is an abstract event, but a memory, the difference between a memory and something imaginary is that the memory has, in some sense, what do you say, it's been imprinted by reality. Eyes, a person can wonder about an advanced civilization, start extracting emotions, and their mind begins creating sort of user interface with the idea. That means you're like, yo, man, in the future they're gonna have flying cars. So that's like the first wave. Then you go a bit deeper, and if I was 100 meters above in the air in my car. So something that was just an idea, distant idea in the inner realms, can actually be the concept on it, and you can have emotions from abstract events as much as you can have emotions from real events. And when you look at the human being, it's like this hilarious example of like this person goes to buy a refrigerator, the refrigerator salesman explains all the specs, the technology, everything, and it's like the best deal and the best technology and all of this, best refrigerator possible to buy. And at the end of it, the dude's like, I don't like the color, and imagine there's no other color, you know. So so what that means is that the right there in front of you, but because we are we in some sense, based on our energy levels also, kind of choose how deeply we want to comprehend where we are. And so when I am saying there is might in madness, it's a similar example. It's like what you thought was real, realize it is simulated. It's simulated. We're all simulated in the world room for some time, and the world room is simulated for some time. But the question is, what do we do in this random, unique, what appears a random, unique circumstance? Of madness is when the known no longer avoids the unknown. When you realize what it means to be alive is to live for the higher ideals of reality. For example, for a Muslim, these are the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which technically are divine attributes of manifestation. And in Islam, the role of the human being, there's like some very interesting pointers that the role of the human being, as if God created mankind and jinkind for the sole purpose of worshiping Him. And at the same time, the human being is a vicegerent, a khalifa, meaning an ambassador of higher attribute of the higher power. So the difference between human beings and, let's say, lower entities than us is that we notice the higher power through a theological context. We were created by a system admin. Even though the soul is mysterious and cannot be defined, it will always be a mystery. But the original remembrance of the moment we were created, the memory of the greatest creating its greatest invention. And I'm not trying to humanize God, but as a human being, I'm exploring the metaphor. And it's like realizing the soul knows it is God's greatest creation, and there is a force in the moderations of this reality that is making us forget it. So, to be honest, Adam and Eve made the mistake of listening to a simulated entity, and they were, in some sense, I guess, denounced from the original reality. And so now it's like they listen to a simulated serpent and react there, because the notion of a simulation is cannot exist without the original. Anyways, I think I've painted enough what the might of madness means. It's like an intensity out of a response to a situation where your ignorance breaks, your true values of yourself are emerged to you, and you begin to realize that our species is actually what's going on here technically is that 8 billion organisms appears to be an unknown event, but then they realize they're designed peculiarly, the world has peculiar design, do you know? And so in some sense it's like, you know what it's like being a human being? It's like 8 billion soldiers on a battlefield suddenly open their eyes and they look at themselves and they're like, yo, we're all dressed in human armor. And then they looked at their sword and shield, and their sword was their ability to be conscious of the world, to communicate, and their shield was their, pretty much in this reality you're either receiving, and if you're wise I think you understand, to the greatest ideal. Do you know what that means? That means if I'll give you an example. I have this, see, I have something in common with conspiracy theorists. And let me tell you, I have had friends, even my brother, so many people talk about conspiracy, and I tell them I don't want to hear it. It's like I don't need unnecessary simulated fear. But at the same time, I am fascinated about um, the conspiracy part, but the theory part of how human beings are actually living life and how there is actually. So what it means is value. It's like you're in this. Okay, let me say it this way. Anytime you've looked at yourself in the mirror, you've objectified yourself. You know, you know how you hear, for example, women in the nightclub say, "Object, don't objectify me," to the dude in the movie, and the thing that the dude doesn't say, but objectify me. But I just want to say, when you look in the mirror, you're objectifying yourself. Now the point of it is that, check this out. You are a mind, you're an intelligent system, let's say biochemical plus unknown system. And I want to pretty much like open your eyes to this fact that you have been giving yourself a value, and that's just one angle. That means if you right now you feel like you like dislike yourself, it all depends on who's looking at what. Do you understand? So I'm trying to tell you that you have a value to yourself. That means you give yourself value based on your own conduct, value for your species, and it's all about the responsibility to life. For me, I was like, pretty much think of it this way. Just like a video game goes and completes missions and goes through battles and gains experience. Okay, I want to tell you that right now, five people. There are people who are, in some sense, like in the first level of the game. They're in the level of their self. Most human beings, they're level one. That means they care about their own problems and they care about their own solutions. That's it. Most people are this level one. Level two is when you suddenly realize that there's 8 billion variations to the human form. There's 8 billion mold on this planet. Okay. And then you get this strange feeling that it's like imagine up and they were all in these Iron Man suits. Question would be like, okay, why have I logged in to my consciousness account throughout this? Now that I am in this game of reality, instead of two on a screen, it's 3D elements of the periodic table. Doesn't matter if it's pixels or the periodic table. Doesn't matter. But what it is it is a type of reality. It is a type of situation, and situational awareness is the realization of awareness that it is situating itself. That means in every moment, it's not like you have a personality. They teach people wrong, right? All those people. There was a time in my youth I was so shy that I was like, what does it mean? Personality. I would see people comfortably speaking to other people, and I'd be like, how are they doing that? Do you know what I mean? So I was in some sort of introverted shyness, self exile when I was young, or god god enforced exile. But anyways, that exile kind of brought me to the brink of madness. But what I had an ethical substructure that kind of pushed away the chaos. You don't know, like, people have this impression that Muslims are not gentle people, but you don't understand. We are Islam commands us, in which we treat as the source code. We treat the Holy Quran as the source code. God is the system admin, and the source code is trying to guide man towards the main operating system, the most advanced relationship of creation with Creator. And so, as a Muslim person, just a young Muslim person, you're raised to kind of your gaze when you see haram. That's like men's mental hijab, or to respect boundaries. Okay, somebody. Sorry, guys. I was just eating. Believe it or not. Somebody says why Islam is better than other. It's like you're asking me why is other ideas, and the simple answer: Islam is the religion of Islam is not just behaviorology. Okay, all religions are a relationship of a lower powered position with a higher powered. Guys, let me chew my food. Hold on. Sorry. Let me say it this way. Okay, it's like saying, why is this ideological system more accurate than other ideological systems? Okay, so what your question in the chat section is, why? See, what religion is the relationship of a created phenomena with its original source, with a causal position. It's the relationship of an effect. Now, Islam, something that others don't, but I also, before being Muslim, I was committing shirk and I was pretty much a Vedantist. Okay, so I've had a different route than your average Muslim in how I'm Muslim. Okay, that means um, and you can hear it in previous talks. But I'll say this: it's think of it this way. It's not about whether one ideological system or the other ideological system is false. It's about what does this ideological system show you. Okay, what is its context? And for me personally, every person has to make their own choice. And I believe Islam is not something you get forced in, it's something that your heart calls you towards it. Okay, that means that it is not a it is a book that makes you realize that your inferiority is your ability to realize the higher power. There's a reason we're in the human position. Okay, there's a reason even religion is superior to spirituality, because spirituality is about the limitlessness of the self. Religion is about you realizing they're limited right now. Okay, now here's the difference between, I think, Islam and other traditions, and the way I interpret Islam. Prophet Abraham started, Prophet Muhammad, what Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, started, what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, finished. That means, as if like Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was simultaneously the answer to the. Now, this is, so excuse me, but as someone who, I guess, realized every atom and cell, as someone who realized every atom and cell of my body was Muslim before my conscious personality, like, all right, I'm Muslim. Before that, I realized that Islam to me is source code. That means what it's pointing to is so ahead of its time that before I was truly, I felt truly called towards Islam. I will tell you that I felt Islam was a time traveler's intervention. It just fit for me, as I felt the future. Like, you don't understand. I used to be a person who thought that angels were my future self. That's how they knew how to guide me, you know. But now, relationship, I pretty much said goodbye to the spirituality, because I understood that the point of it is, that spirituality is like having a relationship with simulated moderators who have authority over the simulation, inside the simulation. But religion is like going directly to the admin. So I will tell you this, that the reason I think Islam is has superior conclusion is because it is saying the system admin, God, cannot be equal to anything in the world. It is freeing you of shackling yourself to anything that's simulated. That means to be a Muslim is to have an OCD in realizing nothing simulated can equal the view of the system admin. You know, people are acting like it too. Do you understand? That means you act like a system administrator of your own home. Do you know? And when guests come in your home, if you use the bathroom, they come to the system admin and they ask. But now imagine you have two guests at home, like you're like the system admin, you're the host, and you have one of the guests asking you, where's the guest asks another guest, and the other guest is like, I don't know, man, maybe it's in that room. Do you know what I mean? So I'm saying, like, another example would be like, you're an employee, you're having an issue, you go to the managers, but the managers could be against you. The managers could dislike you. The managers could think you're going to take their job. Do you know? Like, I don't want to imply that Shaitan was jealous that this greater creature to have the ear of God. Maybe it, I don't know. I don't think it's that. But anyways, I don't know either. Even if I had an opinion, but I would say, what I'm trying to say is that Islam is saying, yo, bro, if it's an idol made of feathers or whatever, freaking throw that in, like, away. Don't worship an object. Don't think an object is the only truth. It's like it's unsettling, actually, because you're not just an appearance, you have an inner life. Do you know that means I don't want to say that atheism has been trying to turn everyone into liars, but consciousness requires a higher ideal. If you're in a world you can go, it's not just the physical world. Growth is an internal meaning of is an internal measurement. So the reason is because it's saying so. If, if like a shimmering being appeared in front of me and solved all my problems, and then I asked it, "Who are you?" and it said, "I'm God," I would never believe that's God. That's my point. Spirituality is the ego's attempt to connect to source, but the ego, there's no one to connect to source in the sense of how do I mean, if you go listen to my lectures post these past few years, I've been there, done that, man. I'm telling you, it's not about feeling powerful in a simulation. It's about realizing what's actually going on and discovering that there's an administrative system. That means it's like the world has invisible management. And after some point, you notice this. It's intelligent. The context is intelligent, not just the concept. Spirituality, modern spirituality takes you to non-dualism, and non-dualism is in some sense trying to act free in a place. It's like trying to feel perfect in an imperfect place. Wiser to quickly discover your limitations rather than escape into realities that you're feeling limitless. Do you know? That means I'll give you an example. I'm a person who I'm not like Jungian synchronicities were days of my life. But I'm telling you, after some point, I was like, "How dare numbers tell me what I should do? How dare anything?" And then I asked myself, "How dare anything in the world tell me what to do?" And then I realized, what are the texts that say something beyond the world? You don't understand. Islam is a book. That means if the prophet, the man, I'm the truth. Excuse my language. I shouldn't be speaking like this. The prophet, peace be upon him, could have, in some sense, made himself into a king. Do you know? He could have made everybody into worshiping himself, but the told him the revelation, like the what came from the higher realm specifically told him, "You are a warner. You're not there to go and act like people's truth on people." Maybe Christian right now listening, and you might be like, "Mr. Within, what about Christ being God?" I will say that from a human perspective, I cannot understand it. But from God's perspective, God is anything. God is free. It is man who's in a limited condition. And the protocol is quickly understanding our situation and developing, response plan, battle plans. I feel there's a reason our species, we united into armies and we changed the world. There was a reason that human beings gathered to, in some sense, not just preserve important values, but to, in some sense, build an advanced reality. You don't understand. Mathematics, if you read the history of mathematics, you're going to be astonished how in the Islamic Golden Age, the word algebra comes from an Arabic word, for example. You understand that every person is connected. I'm not saying everybody should be cloned in the same way. I'm just saying if you look at what the concepts in this holy book are pointing to, they are pointing beyond the worldly condition. A religious person doesn't treat this world as the final destination. It is the lobby to the greater event. It's like to think um, this world is the final place, the final destination. Technically, secular people and atheists have no choice. If the world dies, that means, in some sense, meaning ends. And if meaning ends and there's an awareness to meaning ending, It's transcendence, folks. Like that's pretty spiritual right there. But I think there's phases. I think that all spiritual people will at some point get bored of themselves. You will get bored. You will get bored of your mind's ability to animate, utopic sweetness. But I'm telling you, it's like there is a fascination and excitement in the madness, but not madness as in chaos only. There is a might in there's like something important. The future is so important, right? That I don't know how to tell you. Okay, so whoever is typing in the comment section, I think you have a talent to be a good interviewer. Um, the question is being asked, what do you think the universe is doing right now, where it's going? The first answer is I don't think human beings are in the driver's. So it's I don't know. But from the way things are looking, by the year 2070, you're going to have natural to the year 2070. You're going a sort of ethical revolution. That means we're humanity's at a point where it's problems to solve. We have a I went through it in an episode, guys, where sorry guys, the question was what is the universe doing? I think it's expanding until it breaks. And I would say it's acting, or I would say even superior to natural law. We have divine law. The world is a place where you're being tested. You're asking me what is the universe doing? You're asking me what is the awareness to reality being? The universe is following the commands of the system admin. I used to believe karma. I used to talk about it in so many ways. But then the unfairness in the world didn't make sense, and I realized the reason for it is that there's a decision making going on beyond. It's like the system's been coded. That means like imagine the future. Okay, so this is very hypothetical, but imagine in the future consciousness becomes so conscious of itself. How would I say it? It's kind of like there's objects found in the space and then suddenly realize they're subjects, and then they move in the space more and then they realize they are the space. It's like where can your attention go after you're no longer a character? You have become the context. Right now, if we ask the question, what do we think the universe is doing right now and where it's going? It's like the answers are dependent on whether we're thinking of as the concept or we're thinking as the context. The universe could in some sense right now being, and that's what it's doing. It's like asking what is the sky doing, what is the future doing. It's a potential. What the universe right now is doing and where it's going is it is activating its potential through the human species. But what is activating the man? Do you know what that means? That means there is your conscious free will and ego has an authority over your body, but there is something else with a greater authority over the context. It's like you, when you move in the world, you move as a physical self in a physical world. But it's like if God wants to move something in a manner of visualization, it would be like God just has to say be. The command of God is. It's like I don't want to reference it this way. I don't use this imagery, but I think it's important. It's kind of how you close your eyes and I tell you, okay, so I'm telling you, imagine you're a novelist and you just created a world and you created a character in a world. And now imagine the character realizing that it's a creation of your mind. Sorry, guys. Back to it. Pretty much, I'm saying the character in your mind in that fiction, for it, its reality is based on how your mind. It's like the world that we're being in is simultaneously the awareness of the system admin. So you don't if so if you can, it's like when God said your laws, that in my mind, if I instantly want to imagine, like, whatever in the storyline I can. Now I'm not saying this is the way, but this is one way you can see. So it depends on the system admin, the higher consciousness to the world, to in some sense administer the lower consciousness. Anyways, folks, I guess I'll take this to the futurist roar. I've already heard it. I am someone who's a sci-fi writer. I do also have a cinematic. Like the slower I think I process reality in language, the faster I my mind moves. It becomes a film. And to be honest, giving these talks is like looking at a film and just turning it into words. Sure. Guys, this was a word like futurist that, to be honest, had different sense of time. But for me, I realize everything is motivated by its future value continuation. The roar of the futurist is to say, hey, as 8 billion human beings, why can we see the future behind our eyes? And why is that important? So in the chat section, the response is, so I said, okay, so somebody wrote, I think the universe is going to a world so connected, so alive with collaboration that the old limits, time, distance, even difference start to melt. And then I say, I see, so you see us all becoming a collective hive mind. Is that what you mean? And in the chat section, it says a kind of evolutionary hive mind, not of control or uniformity, but of unity and diversity, powered by love, awareness, and co creation. Um, um, I don't think that's the end of it. I think if you take the idea of the hive mind, it's like 8 billion becoming one being. It's like humanity, the human beings are so connected. That means, do you know what a hive mind means? A hive mind is like 8 billion human beings connected to the same mental server. And in that mental server, it doesn't matter. That means 8 billion people can experience life through each other's eyes. That means it's like one mind, no longer an individual mind. So when you say co-creation, a hive mind is not a place of co-creation. It's a place where the collaborators are being each other. You don't understand. So I don't know if that's the best approach. And I don't know if that's what God wills, but I think that every, how in the Holy Quran it says, like every soul will, like, taste death. It means every person will exit. See, that's the thing. I think the hyper connection, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I was reading something in a previous lecture where AI was saying, like, yo, people have access to so much information, but they don't, but their lives are meaningless. You know, we realized meaning, so everybody wants it from outside of themselves. But to be honest, you're looking at an infinite multiple choice and you select one. Pretty much what the mind can't decide, the heart should. Anyways, so the futurist roar is like futurists telling people that everything you see right now in your life, everything you use in your daily life has a future. Its geometry has, a person uses a toothbrush, the toothbrush then they after, right? But the concept of the toothbrush is there, and toothbrush is being created. Like recently, I heard they're creating a machine where senior citizens can just go in that and they completely, like, it bathes them, it cleans them, right? So I'm saying, like, the roar of the future is that if you're judging yourself based on the past, based on the present, that is not enough. You should feel your future self's judgment. You should, unborn future generations staring at you being like, how advanced are you, bro? And you have to look at the future generations and understand that their their world is dependent on how we act. It's like if you used to throw cigarettes on, you just uh, in some sense treat the realm as having a conscious honor. To me, my emotions, I regulate them through honor, to be honest. That means it's like what, there's an honor to it. That's like I'm honoring the potential of how advanced human civilization can be, and it fascinates me why behind our eyes we can see probabilities to the future. And it's like being is like, what do I do with the past and the future while I'm making a decision in the present? And I'm telling you, every living for their future self, and everybody is employed by their future self. They're working for their future. They're adapting to how the world's changing, and that is very futuristic. That means, like, imagine, evolutionarily speaking, from a secular lens, it's like when the creature, so biological eyes evolved under the water, and this creature at some point stepped out of the water, and it was a portal experience. It was futuristic for it. Futurism is technically a deeper access to reality. So somebody in the chat section said, I'll read it again, a kind of evolutionary hive mind, not of control or uniformity, but of unity and diversity. I wrote a response, but I feel the species needs, and I responded, but I feel the species needs to be careful. Hyperconnections, endless development may make the biological body unnecessary. We have to wonder about the speed of this connectivity as well. Human beings need to align, and there needs to begin the great assemblies of humanity, all over the planet. And in these assemblies, it's like, pretty much, I'm trying to say, is judging itself based on the past, and it's feeling worthless in the present. And the shift is that the value of the human being, our legacy. Same way individuals want to be remembered in history, in the same way an advanced civilization wants to continue existing in history. People want to enter, want to be known in history, and some people are alive. Those are the, I think those who are there, they, out of the madness of the dualism of all the variations of perception, they find the might that in some sense they cannot lie to themselves any longer. Their soul meets their rawest form, and at some point it just settles like ripples on a pond, and you just realize what is important for you. And a part of you is always weeping for your failures, and a part of you is always cheerfully, celebrating your success. It's like right now, the most chaotic version of me, the worst version of me, and the most, let's say, ordered version of me, and the best version of me, they're all like standing in front of me, imagine. And it is my choice how far I go, So, anyways, we need to care about the futurists, anybody who in behind their eyes has traveled to the future and come back. They have envisioned probabilities to reality. Share your findings with the great human assembly. O futurists of mankind, roar like you have never roared before, because we are so behind schedule as a species that the stars have been waiting too long, and man must in some sense rise as a steward of an advanced system, eventually all simulated conditions returning to the unconditional originality of how they started. Anyways, I hope this lecture was interesting, and if you're a futurist, march on, because to be a futurist, if you care for the future, you're a futurist. If you care for how the future really actually happens, then you in some sense are from the future. Guys, thank you for listening. I have been serious and playful in this lecture. Not mean you need to chaotically respond to life. You and wants to see you become chaos, and then like your order, your conscience, your ethics, your life force push. It's like a mighty force. Your soul realigns the mind that was being moved by unnecessary moderation. Anyways, folks, I hope this was a lecture for you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. A'udhu billah shaitan rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and unnecessary ignorance. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. As if all all simulated existence knows who simulated it. We just have the privilege of consciously knowing it as humans. Rabbighfirli, my Lord, forgive me. My Lord, forgive my species for all the sins that they are conscious and unconscious of. My Lord, forgive your creation, for they were created by the greatest. My Lord, you are the most advanced. You created something that was the most advanced, and now you're testing your creation in how truly advanced it is, and mankind smiles in its simulated life, remembering the original, for consciousness returns to it. There is no human being. Sorry, guys, I was about to end it, but I got to say this. There is no human being on this planet that, in some sense, is similar to you. You have a DNA no human being has had. You've had a conditioning and being raised in the world in a way no human being has. You occupy a moment in the space-time continuum that nobody has, and therefore you have your eyes. Whoever you are, you see the human species and humanity. If you expand the horizons of your awareness in a way that no one else can, courage to care, to share it with reality, you will be fascinated that technically behind our eyes, there's 8 billion variations of an advanced civilization, even way more. And, and we were dealt. And it played well. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. May God guide us to the direct path. May the most advanced guide us in the most advanced way. For it's like the most advanced returns to the most simulates an unadvanced state only for the state to return to the most advanced state. It's like I'm telling you, advancement, greatness was in the room before failure, world before ignorance. And now we have reached that era in history where we are left with this view that rise, mankind, rise in the present, your greatest truth, of the greatest value, the search of these entities in this world for the ultimate value. The ultimate value is beyond the simulated reality. You smile fearing nothing other than the system admin. Thank you for Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the all forgiving. Smile back at the future. It's about time. Thank you for listening.